So hi everybody, my name's Arian Radmand from IgnitePost. I am here today with CJ Forse from Vulgar. CJ, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining me here. I'm really excited. So what we're going to do today, and a really interesting thing that I don't see very often is we actually have a case study that we put together along with CJ. And so what we want to do is kind of walk through and dissect that case study and go into a little bit about what we did, how we worked together, what the challenges were, what the results were. So CJ and I were talking, and we said, we don't see enough of these videos where people go through and really kind of get into the nitty gritty and into the details. So that was the whole idea behind putting this video together. So we're excited to do that together and share it with you.
Yeah, I think like this is something that I wish I had when we started too. So like I hope to give people or other brands that are in the shoes that we were like a good starting point. And we don't have everything figured out on admittedly, but it's like
Sure.
if you can start here and then build on it and get even better results than we did, that would be cool. So yeah, I hope people find this helpful.
For sure, for sure. And so we have a blog post, and so this will be up on the blog post. So if you want to follow along, feel free. But our blog post basically goes through and details the work that we did with the Feel Good Lab, and the title is Driving Retention and Building Relationships. So a very quick background on Ignite Post. Essentially, what we do is we are a company that specializes in robotically handwritten notes specifically to deepen relationships. And we work a lot in the e-commerce space with a lot of e-commerce customers. So with that, let's dive into a little bit of the background of the Feel Good Lab, which is who we were working with, and talk a little bit about them first before we go into how they were using the service. So CJ, tell me a little bit about the Feel Good Lab kind of mission statement, and what you guys were up to.
Sure. Just for context, just so it doesn't get confusing as we chat about this too. So, my personal background, I was a co-founder of the Feel Good Lab, ran marketing, brand, copywriting, built the website, anything that you see as far as brand or marketing that I was either the brain behind it or the hands on the keyboards. I've since moved on and started my own digital marketing agency called Vulgar. So
Yep.
I run that, and we help ecom brands scale. So taking all the lessons learned, tactics, and best practices that we applied to the Feel Good Lab and offering those to other ecom brands. I only mention that just so it doesn't get confusing
Sure.
we're going to jump back and forth between my role at the Feel Good Lab and Vulgar. But the Feel Good Lab, awesome brand, still kicking today and growing rapidly. So the Feel Good Lab makes better for you pain relief products. So think all those popular brands that are 100 years old in the pain relief aisle today. We won't
Yep.
we won't say any of the names, but think of those. They might make your eyes water when you apply them, things like that. And think of those products, but without any of the toxic junk chemicals or nasty stuff that you wouldn't want to put in or on your body. And that's what the Feel Good Lab is all about. And it's taking that a step further, it's helping people feel good. So it's helping people one of the big target audiences was chronic pain sufferers. So people with
Totally.
arthritis, they might be living a rather healthy lifestyle, but unfortunately they're diagnosed with arthritis, which is a degenerative disease. And, it's hard to recover from that. So you need to use something on a consistent basis a lot of times to help relieve the pain. That's where the Feel Good Lab would come in,
Yep.
because it doesn't contain any crap that you wouldn't want in or on your body. So you can use it safely for a long period of time to help you cope with that pain while you maybe take other routes, physical therapy and whatnot. So that's
Totally.
that's the background
Love it.
of it. And yeah,
Yeah. No,
back
that
to you, man.
that was perfect. No, I
Keep
love it.
leading me down the
Yeah.
path. Let's chat about what you want to chat about.
Yeah, yeah, no, that was perfect. So that kind of gives folks a good overall kind of architecture of what the Feel Good Lab was. So, with any brand, right? You launch this business, awesome mission. There's a market out there. People that actually, pain is huge, right? So there's people out there that need the product, but
No.
like any other emerging brand, right? You've got the basic challenges, right? Awareness, acquisition, retention. So maybe like let's start there, right? So just launch this brand. We're trying to build it. what are some of the biggest things that you're, kind of trying to tackle and kind of struggling with, and kind of what are the hammers that you're using to kind of hit those various nails?
I think there's a couple of things. So like acquisition, like customer acquisition is always a challenge for emerging scaling brand and trying to acquire customers at an acceptable cost. So
Totally.
like and acceptable meaning, are we acquiring customers for less than what we're making from them over time so that we're
Right.
profitable? Um and so the other thing, and so the levers that we're pulling there were, Facebook, YouTube, connected TV, um just everything that we could
Totally.
try, right?
Yep.
On the other side of it, like the big challenge for the Feel Good Lab and for a lot of brands, it should be a big challenge, is customer retention, and I think that's a big topic for today.
Totally.
And customer retention in the sense of getting people to purchase from you multiple times so that you can increase your customer lifetime value. So the amount of money that people are spending with you over time, you can measure customer lifetime value 3 months, 6 months, 12 months over the course of the entire life of the customer.
Right.
Oftentimes we would use 12 months as kind of like our favorite metric. But the for the Feel Good Lab in particular, super, super important because the products themselves actually work differently. So
Right.
the pitch, not the pitch, but the reality of the product, because it's like a better for you natural formula, the more you use it consistently over time, the better the results become. So it's more like a multivitamin delivered through the skin rather than a silver bullet that you apply once and it cures your pain.
Got it.
So for us, we had to try one to get people to, if they buy a tube of it, to
Right.
use it every
Right.
day, and then to keep going. Because if it's sometimes for people with really severe chronic pain, it might take a while, it might take weeks of usage before they start to turn a corner and feel, the difference that the formula would be making, because it takes a long time to have, steer your body to start fighting inflammation in different ways. So
Got it.
that's the other big challenge for us. And then it's kind of
Yeah.
a happy story because it's a win-win for the business and for our customers. Our customers get healthier, they get less pain, and then the business makes more money, which we can fuel into building the business and helping
Right.
more people. So it really was a true, sorry, feel good story.
I love it. I love it. There you go. I love it. No, that's great. So that's awesome. So, and I think a lot of times this point kind of gets lost on folks, because when people launch a business, they really feel like they get solely focused on that acquisition piece. And you and I have talked about this a little bit, but there's kind of two sides to that coin. There's acquisition, but then there's the retention piece. And I feel like so often people focus so much on that upfront, acquisition, and they don't really put the effort into the retention piece. But that retention is really what allows you to kind of continually build and grow your brand into a large business.
Yeah, it's like the
You
same
can't do
way
that
that
with a
they
leaky
say,
bucket.
yeah, it's the same way why they say like the gold is in the list of collecting email addresses. It's because, those you kind of own those and you can keep mining that list. Well, I think what's the better thing is customers. So if you keep collecting customers, you can keep mining those customers to grow the business. And it's the most cliche quote in the book, which is like, what is it? It costs 10 times more to
Right, right,
acquire a new customer than it does to, to sell to an existing one. I don't know what the actual number is, but it definitely is way easier to build raving fans, or grow an army of raving fans where you can continue to sell to them to grow the business. Yes, it's dollars and cents in the bank, but I think there's a even greater halo effect where it's like you have these people who love your brand, love your products, and there's many more things that can come from them.
right,
Testimonials, they're sharing your products and your brand on social media, so it's free marketing, free impressions, and that's where a lot of the value comes from. That's difficult to calculate and put into a spreadsheet and understand the true ROI on a raving fan,
right.
but that is how a lot of emerging brands grow. This is why,
Yeah,
like, awareness, everybody talks about awareness, which is a really like touchy feely hand wavy metric, but it is so important, especially now that I've shifted more to the agency side and I'm helping other brands. It is so clear that the brands that have awareness, those are the ones that are killing it more
right.
on digital marketing. And it's really hard to have that conversation with some brands that are really early that have zero awareness to just say, you need awareness. Well,
Right.
why? Can you
Yeah.
show me the numbers? No,
Right. Right.
honestly, sometimes no.
Right.
I just know that when you have it, it's like the oil in the engine. It makes everything operate more smoothly in the marketing.
Got it. So that's awesome, and that's actually a really good segue into like some of the strategy we did. So, basically kind of what I'm hearing is yes, acquisition is important, but retention is where things kind of get built up. The awareness is super important. So that was one of the big challenges that I know we were trying to tackle when we worked together with the Feel Good Lab is how do we, help with that awareness piece, and how do we get those customers and turn them from, customers into raving fans that came back and purchased again, wrote testimonials, wrote reviews, and then, spoke about the brand to other folks. So that I know that was like one of the big challenges that we wanted to really work on and improve.
Yeah,
So
the way that we think about it, the way that we thought about it, and the Feel Good Lab continues to think about it, and the way that Vulgar helps clients structure their marketing is through a customer value journey. So you think about it from the point that they don't know you, they probably don't even recognize that they have a need that your product solves, taking them from that status quo to being aware of the brand and the product to, giving you either a small amount of money in the form of some kind of tripwire offer or small purchase, or even a time commitment of reading your website, a blog, watching a video,
yep,
and continuing on to purchase the product, and then purchasing again, or maybe purchasing a different product. And then the end of that life cycle is advocacy, where they're writing product reviews or testimonials, all the way to promotion, where maybe they're becoming an affiliate for your brand, and they're helping actually sell product to multiple people that they don't even know. And
right.
so that's the way we kind of think and plot this through. And getting them from, that initial purchase of your core offer to the next one, like that's, I think, where IgnitePost comes in and can really help. It helped the Feel Good Lab for sure.
Totally, yeah. And so let's go in and dive in specifically about kind of what the strategy was, because I know we spoke about this earlier about how, this day and age, everything is very omni-channel, right? Like it's not,
Yeah.
you don't just use one specific tactic to achieve your goal. But in this case, Ignite Post was part of that entire strategy, that kind of customer journey that you just spoke about. So let's dive in there a little bit and talk a little bit about what the strategy that you put together using Ignite Post was. Like maybe start there and kind of dissect that a little bit.
Yeah. So, all right, let's start with like, what did we do? And then
Yeah,
we'll back into like why.
sure.
So we sent people a handwritten card, man.
Yeah,
Like, let's just be very clear about that.
yeah,
Like, I don't even know. I think we got connected with you guys through like networking and discovered you, and
yep,
then I'd heard about the technology years ago when I in a past life working for large agencies, but it was at the time. It was stuff that you could only do as an enterprise because it was crazy, like absurdly
yeah,
expensive. And then we got to talking, and the value that Ignite Post brings to the table is integration with software technology. So you can actually make this, the tactic of handwritten cards. You got like on the screen right now, like the
yep,
little GIF of
exactly.
the robot writing with a ballpoint pen,
Yep,
and taking that and making that integrate with, say, Klaviyo, like your email service provider, so that you can just automate writing or sending these handwritten notes, which was, again, back, we couldn't do this. It was like that was enterprise stuff, pipe
right,
dream.
right.
So anyway, what we're doing with you guys is we're sending a handwritten note to repeat buyers, not their second order, but their third order. And that
Yep,
handwritten note is a note. At the time, it was from me, the co-founder, thanking them for their purchase, telling them how we genuinely, it makes us happy that they are finding relief from the products, and then offering them a discount code for their third order. Our product, or the Feel Good Labs products, are a premium brand. They're not cheap, as in the pain relief category as it goes.
yep,
Um, Price per ounce, they're very competitive, but
right.
like the size anyway. Um, so offering them a discount code in exchange for their loyalty, rather, it's not even loyalty. It's about like, hey, we know this is helping you because you've already ordered twice, and we want to help you out on the third order, and just trying to turn them into a raving fan. There's
Totally.
another reason for why we would send it on the second repeat purchase and not the first, because I think that most marketing strategies should start with the math. So for us, given our average order value, because we're selling, tubes of pain relief cream and not large ticket, hundreds of dollar items, our
Yep.
average order value is relatively low to some other e-commerce brands. And it just kind of always will be until perhaps the Feel Good Lab launches a bunch of complementary products and can bundle stuff. But right now we're focusing on just that, making and delivering the best pain relief cream in the world.
Yep.
And so when you have a low average order value, like, and given factoring in the cost of the handwritten note and the postage and all that, we
Yep.
just wanted to be sure that we could send them a handwritten card and it's not going to make us unprofitable for that customer.
Right.
And so that's the other reason that we chose the third order. And then the last reason was we
That's right.
knew that on average, if they order that third time, let me make sure I got this right from memory, there's
Yep.
60% chance that they're going to order again.
Exactly.
And
Yep. So I highlighted like right on here on the
yeah,
screen. Right. Yep. So 60% chance of returning for more. Correct.
yeah. If we get them, so I kind of look at this as this equates to kind of this train of thought. And if for anybody listening at this point, if they're if they're still listening to me
Yeah.
yammer on at this point, uh, there's a couple good examples of this. It's called like the aha moment for a lot of people. So for us, for the Feel Good Lab, the aha moment was like if you're using it consistently and you're starting to turn a corner and feel results, like now we can, continue to deliver that and you'll be happy to be a customer long term. Another example, just to inspire people listening to try to think of this, of what would this be for your brand. Nike Plus, when they came out with like the running app back in the day, they figured out like their aha moment was getting people to track 5 runs. If you
Right.
tracked 5 runs with the app, then there is a super good chance that you're going to be a loyal user of the Nike Plus app. Another example is Tesla. So
Yep.
Tesla will take you on a 0 to 60 launch on their test drive if you're a qualified buyer. If they know that you got the cash to buy a Tesla,
Right.
take you on this test drive, take you on a back road, say, hey, if you're gonna buy a Tesla, you got to experience a launch. They
Right.
do that 0 to 60 launch in like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Your head gets pinned to the back of the seat. It's over, and you go, I have to
I
buy
want
this
one. Yep.
car. I'm buying this. And so, like, trying to figure out what that aha moment is for your brand, and then maybe think about attaching this super high touch point, for lack of a better word, to that aha moment.
Totally.
I think is a really interesting way to start brainstorming how you might use handwritten cards in your business.
Totally. Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. And it kind of meshed well with like the mission of the Feel Good Lab. And it was
Yeah.
awesome because I really like the whole, bringing analytics and bringing some data in there because, people can hand wave all they want, but when you really match a very high touch, very highly effective form of outreach like a handwritten card with that point, that kind of that
Yeah.
aha moment that you said, or that kind of that point where if we can get someone to this point, they have a very, very good chance of basically becoming a lifetime customer. That's really where you want to focus all of your efforts and energy because that's what's going to grow your business and allow you to
Yeah.
turn into a big brand.
I mean, to put a fine point on it, like do the math, like factor in the percentage of your conversion rate from first. I mean, a lot of brands could maybe do this after first purchase if your ticket's high enough, like if
Right.
your average order value is high enough. Do it on the first purchase. Or do it on the second or do it on the third like we were doing, but do the math on your conversion rates from when they're getting the note to the next, and then your profitability, and then the cost of the postage and the mailing it. And just, I would say honestly, my advice is, this is like a radical way to think about it, like be okay with completely losing like the cost of sending that card. Like
Yep.
that's how we approached this program. Was, yeah, we could try to do a conversion rate. What's our conversion rate when sending them the handwritten card, and the cost of the card, and is the card program profitable? But we decided to not do it that way because we found value in sending people a handwritten note, whether or not they purchased,
Right.
because it was a touch point that made people feel great. And it's like, so, and then also coupling that with the fact that we were sending it after their third purchase, it didn't matter if we made money off of
Right.
sending this card. It's not that wasn't how we measured success for the program. I think you could do it both ways. I think you could be really like by the numbers, return on,
Yep.
send, or you can do it our way and just introduce it in a point of the buyer's journey where it doesn't matter if you make money on this touch point.
Got it. That makes sense. So one of the cool things I'd like to do is maybe dive into like the actual tactics and talk a little bit about the actual note of like what you sent, how it worked, like kind of structure. I know in the blog post here, we say we always swear by what we call the three C's, right?
Hmm.
That's how you structure a good handwritten card. Is you one, you want to cut through the noise. Two, you want to connect with the recipient, and three, you want to have a clear call to action. And so your note kind of did all of those, right? Because you cut through the noise by actually sending something physical to somebody instead of kind of getting lost in the digital ether, because we have a lot of digital communication coming our way. You connect it with the recipient, right? So you're sending this to somebody after their third purchase, so they're already familiar with your brand, and you're trying to get them to that, cross the into the aha moment, cross into the
Hmm.
the realm of being a lifetime customer. And then third is to have a call to action, which you also had, which was very specific, like, hey, thanks so much for trying us out. Here's a discount for your next order, knowing that 60% of the people, if you got them to that point, would then cross over and just become lifetime customers. So yeah, I
Yeah,
would love to maybe spend a little bit of time here talking about like the actual tactics that you used.
I think like for as far as like inspiration for like writing the card, like I mean, people can hit the blog post and see exactly what we were sending most people. We tried a couple different variations, but this is what was going out to most people. I think my biggest advice that I could share with somebody in general when it comes to copywriting, not even just for these cards, but write like a human.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's probably even more important for these cards because if we're being honest, like what are we trying to do? We're trying to kind of trick them that this is a handwritten from a person.
Yep.
So like do take off your business jargon hat and write like you're writing to a buddy or a
Right.
pal or a friend or a college roommate or whatever. And I would just be really careful to do anything but that with this tactic. So that would be the big advice that I could share there. For us, like, so there was an ignite in trying to tie it back to like your three C's or like what we wrote, like an acknowledgement of why they bought, I think is good.
Yep.
Try to write from the heart. Like, why is this important? Why, other than like you growing the business or us growing the business and making money off of this person, which it's just it's pretty easy for the feel good lab because it's like we're selling to people that have a debilitating, pain. They have pain. So it's
Right.
like to be anything but sympathetic to that or empathetic is
Yeah.
like slimy.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
like it's kind of self-policing for the feel good lab, but I would say, if my advice to other people listening would be like, think of it that way. Like try to empathize with why they bought your products or your brand, or why they might be considering buying them, and right from the heart. And then the last thing that for the call to action, um, we gave a discount for the next order. But again, like I try to think of like why a better reason why you're offering that discount other than we want to make more money off of you. Like
Right.
so for us, again, like the Feel Good Lab, it's pretty easy because we want to help them continue to get better. So, try to think of what's the reason behind offering, if you're going to offer a discount to entice people or encourage people to act. Um, yeah, think about why. Now,
Gotcha.
back to just offer strategy, I would put an offer in there. Like you got to give people a reason to act. So like if
Yep.
just telling them, "Hey, we hope you visit the website and go buy something," again, like zero people will do that.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So
You have to
I
be
would
very, very clear, very directive. Like, here, go do this. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I was starting from scratch, like honestly, I still do this today. Like every time we do like a new tactic, whether it's a new handwritten card or a new ad, like just to inspire myself, I'll just do a quick Google search, like best offer strategy or best, just
That's a good tip.
Google it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you could do discounts, you could do gift with purchase, which is a way where you can add value to the equation for the customer without cheapening your brand. So
Yep.
like, if you want to remain premium, try a gift with purchase.
Yep.
You can do sense of urgency. So that's a really good lever that you can pull on. You can do a, this is going to expire. Arian, question for you
Yeah.
on the, let's get into the weeds for the technical stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know for like, if you have a Shopify Klaviyo integration, you can do unique coupon codes. So like where it's generated on the spot so that and then it will actually program a unique expiration date.
Oh,
Is that
cool.
something that do you know? I think if we can
So
do it in email, I'm certain if we can do an email, we probably do
that
it
means
for
you
these
can also do
cards.
it in the handwritten card. Yep. Yep.
Because that would be crazy where it's like
So
it's
you can
auto.
totally do that right now for sure. Like if you can pull it in like a unique field in an email, then you can. We work the same way. So if you're using like a Klaviyo integration, you can do it right
Yeah.
there within like a
Yes.
Klaviyo flow or anything very easily.
Okay, so for
We also have
anybody,
like a native
I'm doing this.
API.
We're
So
doing this. Like because like if anybody's using Shopify and Klaviyo, like that's one of the best things that you can do just in general is do dynamic coupon codes. You can Google on the Klaviyo support and how to set those up. And then that's generating a unique hexadecimal coupon code. You could even do welcome, and then it'll add like random decimal or like random numbers or letters to the end of like welcome or something, and then it will here's the magic of it. It attaches a custom or dynamic expiration date to that coupon code at the time it's generated. So I could send Arian, I could send you a code and then just say, hey, this is going to expire in 48 hours. And it really will expire in 48
nice.
hours just for you. And so you can obviously program that to expire as far out as you need. So you could account for the time to create the cards and the postage. And that's what I would do. I would try
Totally.
that right away with these cards. Hey, this is a coupon code just for you, and it's going to expire on this date.
Totally. And yes, like with our integrations, we touched on them for sure. And so with the Feel Good Lab, I think we were connecting Shopify via our Zapier app, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's kind of how the integration was set up.
Yeah, we were kind of like early adopters with you guys. I wouldn't say the
Yeah.
earliest, but early enough where we were doing some Zapier stuff to do some kind of ninja moves with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
data. But I think you guys have gotten a lot better now in terms of the integration.
For
We don't even
sure.
need to
Yeah.
do that stuff anymore.
Exactly, yeah. And so that's kind of what I was going to say is, we do have the Zapier app, which allows you to connect a bunch of different pieces depending on what you're out there using. But we also have since launched just a standalone API. So if you really want to get super granular and super controlled, you can always do a very close API integration. But we also have things like a native Klaviyo integration. So you can basically drop us into like a Klaviyo
Yeah.
workflow. We have this integration where you can turn an email into a handwritten note. So if you can trigger an email to us, we can read the fields from there and create and send a handwritten card that way.
I think
So
too, like, let me
there's
give
so
you
many different ways.
a shameless plug, because I wouldn't even be on here doing this unless I love working with you guys, and the thing that you've built is really special and super unique. But like one of the things that to pat you on the back, man, like you guys were super, super helpful every step of the way to help us kind of squash the bugs and get it figured out. And we wanted to do, like I said, some ninja stuff. And
Yeah.
I know you're probably like
No, it's
maybe
great.
cringing. You don't want to do like custom builds for every single client that comes on, but like that was really helpful. And I think in today's day and age to experience that kind of service is rare. So, kudos to you.
Well,
Thank
thank you. I
thank you for
appreciate it.
helping
Of
us. Yeah.
course. Of course. We hope to continue. So
And
thank you.
apologies that we got a thunderstorm. So if people are hearing thunder in the background,
That's okay. It just adds
we'll
a
take
different
it.
dynamic to it. I
Yeah.
love it. Cool. All right. So we've talked a little bit about kind of like Feel Good Lab, the approach that you took, a little bit about how to create the actual handwritten card, what to say. Let's talk a little bit about the results. Like, I
Mhm.
know we've been chatting prior to this, and some of the things have come up of like, well, how do you know it's working or it's not
Yeah.
working? And so talk me through a little bit about when did you guys have that some of those first moments where you're like, oh, this is actually really having an impact.
Yeah. So I would go back to a point I made earlier, like how we measure success for this program was not return on investment. Like, and it can be, and for some brands, I would say it definitely should be, especially if you're going crazy scale. So if you're going to send a ton of thousands of cards, like, you probably should pencil out the return.
Yeah.
But for us, we set a limited budget of how many we would be sending per month cards. So we knew exactly how much we would be investing per month. And we made that decision, and the strategy there was like, hey, this is more of a customer loyalty program, and I'm not going to look at it as ROI. And the thing that validated that decision was we started getting notes
Oh yeah,
on
that's the key piece.
back from our customers. Arian, are you getting this rain here?
A little bit, but it sounds
Okay,
good.
cool. It's just an ambiance thing, I guess. Cool.
Yeah,
So we started getting notes back from our customers, and also too, just to paint the picture, like our customer persona, we call her Barbara. She's in her mid to late 50s, early 60s. And what better way to win the hearts of maybe a 60-something-year-old woman with
right.
a handwritten note? And so we would get, this is just one example that we would get these all the time
Yeah,
of thanking people and people being shocked of handwritten notes. And so saying things like, hey, just received your note from your president with a discount, wanted to thank you, love your company and the care you put into everything. And that is something that we did pride ourselves on, of like every touch point matters. Like we often talk about like the hospitality industry, like what do the
yep,
dirty windows in the lobby of the hotel say about the cleanliness of the room?
right.
You know, what does your product packaging say, the thoughtfulness of your product packaging say about the quality of the product inside the packaging, things like that. So
Yep,
every touch point is really we're very deliberate about all of them. And so we're getting these notes thanking thanking us for helping them and how thoughtful we are. And that's how we started to realize like these notes are working to create what our goal was: raving fans, people that are going to write us product reviews, people that are going to share the brand, people that are going to tell others like, hey, what's working for them, which is huge in the pain relief space. But also if your product or service adds value to people's lives and helps solve a problem for them, it's they're going to tell people about it. It's kind of like the fitness or weight loss industry. You know, talk to somebody who's lost 100 pounds. What's the first question that everybody's going to ask them? How did you do
yeah,
it? And then they're
right.
going to tell them.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah,
so yeah, that was kind of the approach that we took there as far as measuring success. I would say like if you had to attach a metric to it, it would be the number of, you know, engagements or interactions that we were generating by mailing people these handwritten notes.
got it. I love it. Very cool. And so, in terms of like the key takeaway, if we had to kind of like wrap things up, in like with a nice bow,
Yeah.
um, you know, just in your own words, like what would you say is the kind of like the key takeaway is kind of
I
for
love
the whole thing?
how you're like asking me, but then it's like the
Yeah.
answer is right there.
Right.
I think it's something we already talked about before and kind of like opened up with, but it's looking at all the numbers, but two in particular for the business, which is not just how much it costs to acquire a customer and what that acceptable cost is, but also customer lifetime value. So there's two variables that you can play with in that algebra equation of
Yep.
like how do you grow and scale a business. And I think it's the customer lifetime value part is so often overlooked, particularly among scale up startup brands, because you don't have a lot of customers, so you're not really
Right.
looking at that, so you just kind of sleep on that variable. But if you think about how do you build a business for, especially from early on and then even into the future, it's to do it the quote right way would mean taking care of your customers, taking care of them, making sure that they get the best service or the best quality or from you and your brand. And that the metric that measures that, I think, is how often they open their wallet and give you money. And
Right.
that's customer lifetime value.
Yep.
And so that that's part of the reason why, you know, we focus on delivering these handwritten notes. It's also why we have a great, you know, loyalty email flow. It's also it's all these things. It's why we create content. You know, we create content to send them, to
Yep.
help these customers. So I think that would be the big takeaway is, first, here's the first step. If you do not know your customer lifetime value, figure out how to calculate that. And there
Yep.
are some apps on there if you have Shopify, there are a couple apps that are just right in the app store that you can get that will calculate it in a click of a button. And just start with that metric and then ask yourself, how can we make that metric go up? How can we make that number go up?
I love it. I love it. Um, cool. And so I know you took a lot of the learnings that you had here at the Feel Good Lab and kind of now take them and apply them to the customers you work with at Vulgar. If folks are interested in learning more or working with you at Vulgar, tell us a little bit, give us a little bit of a plug, like how can they find you, how can they reach
Yeah.
out
I
and
feel
learn
like it's
more?
the hot ones, like
Yeah.
this camera. Tell people what you got going on in your life. Yeah. So long story short there, and I even in my intro said it, like all the stuff that we struggled with, being up late at night, trying to figure out how to scale the Feel Good Lab, on the verge of pulling out our hair. That's
Right.
where the name Vulgar comes from, the profanities that we were muttering to ourselves as we tried to figure this out. Because entrepreneurship, e-commerce, marketing, it's super, super hard. But we were very fortunate and had a lot of success, and the Feel Good Lab continues to have a lot of success. My heart and passion is in marketing. I love. I always say my favorite quote is, "Life is about acceleration." If you could be traveling 700 miles per hour, but if you're not accelerating, you will not feel a thing.
Totally.
And so for me, being able to offer the solutions and the strategies and the tactics that we figured out at the Feel Good Lab to other brands is where I couldn't be more happy to do it, because I get a chance to talk to different companies and learn different spaces. I'm talking from anybody from, career coaching to like a skill share for expecting parents to a travel equipment company. Like if you're selling things online and you have something to buy, we can help you scale. That's what we do. The other thing that, just to close off on the pitch, I guess, the elevator
Yeah,
pitch, I'm just so fired up about this.
I know.
The thing that we had trouble with is a lot of agencies in the space. The only thing that they want to talk, space being scale up startup, there's a ton of ad agencies that really just do media. They only do media, or they do media and a little bit of like crappy ads. And we could never
Right.
find a partner that was within our budget range that was able to help us build the whole business. Meaning there's so much more that you need to do instead of just ads and media. You
Right.
need emails, loyalty programs, product review programs, landing pages, all this stuff that just comes up and that you're doing on a daily basis. And you can't afford to build a 4 to 5 person marketing team to do all that stuff.
Right.
That is what Vulgar is set up to do. I
Because you
would
need to
say,
do it well too. It's not just about like checking the box of like, yeah, we have a welcome
yes,
stream. Yeah, we have,
yes,
this,
yes.
right?
Well,
So
and
I
let's
agree.
defining well too. Like the thing that bothered us is like we're trying, we're a startup. We're trying to build a household brand. Like,
Yeah.
and to do that, you need to you need to look and sound like a quality brand that belongs in, say, Target. Like you need
Right.
to be at that level of quality. And it's just a lot of agencies that operate and service the startup scale up space aren't set up to deliver that type of quality. And that's what Vulgar is. That's what we do.
Nice. I love it. Well, very cool. Well, so number one, thank you so much for coming on and doing this dissection for me, with me. I hope this was helpful and people learned a lot, and the listeners, are excited and kind of want to dive in more. We'll add links to Vulgar, so if they want to go and check out your handiwork and see, if you would be right for them, they'll be able to do that. But I appreciate it. Thank you so much for going through this and laying everything out, and I hope it's been helpful.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Arian.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks again.